ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् Verse 49 जीवन्मुक्तस्तु तद्विद्वान् पूर्वोपाधिगुणां त्यजेत् सच्चिदानन्दरूपत्वात् भवेत् भ्रमरकीटवत्. So, there are different versions of Atma Bodha. So, you may find this verse in a different little words, but then don't worry about it. This is a correct reading. So, that's just for clarification. Now, result of Atma Jnanam is being talked about, and from verse number 42. And we saw this immediate result of this knowledge is a removal of the ignorance, and as a consequence, a removal of all misconceptions. First and foremost misconception is that I am a small entity. That's a basic conception, a wrong conception, which will go. And then also there are ahankara and I am ahankara, mamakara also is there. Ahankara and mamakara both are association with the body only. Association with this body, and that is ahankara. Association with other bodies or other objects is mamakara. That's all. Basically it's an association of the consciousness and of this either with this body or with other bodies. But definitely association with other bodies, before that definitely association with this body takes place. That is, I am this body, I am physical body. That notion should be there. Then only, through this body you get connected to other bodies or other objects. And once I understand that, I am not this deha, I am not this physical body, then definitely ahankara and mamakara both will go away. And then problem belongs to ahankara and mamakara also go away. All raga, dveshas, etc. also will go away. That is how Jnani says nirmamaha nirahankara. Jnani does not have the sense of mind. He may say that. He will tell that this is my book, etc. Then he may say, my body also he will say, etc. He will say, my clothes. He will say that. So don't think that if he says like that, therefore he has a sense of mamatvam. No. Because that's a role playing and he has to tell, definitely. This body's clothes are there. Nobody will say like this. Body's clothes are there. No, and therefore, because this body's clip is there. No, he say my clip. He will say that. It looks very odd, and therefore, he may tell, but he knows that nothing belongs to me. Nothing belongs to me, and nothing. I am not this physical body also. So nirahankara. Even he may say, I am physical body. He says, I am a human being. He will tell that, I am a human being. And I am sannyasi. Or I am grihastha. However, jnani may be both. So I am grihastha, he may say like that, but he doesn't. He knows in his mind that, well, I belongs to actually this consciousness, and he is very clear, very clear. With respect to I, with respect to self, he is very clear. Like the actor is very clear when he says, I am beggar. Actor is very clear that I belongs to the actor actually. But as a role, he may say, I am a beggar. He is not a beggar, he is clear. We may not be clear. We may feel the actor has really become beggar and we become unhappy. But then he won't be, he is not. He is very clear. He has a space. Yeah, that's a good word here in America. Space. He has a space in between. Not physical space. He has that knowledge. Well, so a role and actor, the distance between that is very clear to him. And that, so the three results we have seen, the jnana nivrutti, second that, I am jivaha, I am small being, that also will go away. Then ahankara, mamakara also goes away. And the fourth benefit also is a total change in my perspective, right? That also we discussed. About myself, I have a now different perspective. Very radical transformation compared to a ignorant being. So I am earlier, I was thinking that I am supported. And now I know myself as a supporter. So from supported to supporter, that's a big difference. Because see, this whole creation, basically, this is how some people get in question, who sustains the entire creation? Because constantly there is a creation going on, and sustenance is there, and resolution is there. I mean, there are basically two phenomena only. Creation and resolution. Both are sustained. Sustenance is not that first once something is created and till it gets death or till it resolves, it is sustained. Nothing like that. Whatever is created from next moment, it is rushing towards the resolution or death from that moment itself. And therefore there are basically two things only, creation and resolution, and both these things are sustained all the time. That is what it is. And therefore anyway, but when people get such doubt that who sustains that, and from where everything comes, and where it goes, everything goes where it goes. Human body, when it is get destroyed, it dies, then we don't find that same body again. It was occupying a space 5 feet 8 inches. I don't know, after burning, it just turns to ashes. So we may feel that where it has gone. So many things in the creation are constantly resolving. So definitely, what is the point where all the things resolve? And that is Ishvara. Well, that is the consciousness basically, ultimately. So even though we say it resolves in Maya, but then Maya of course has a basis in consciousness, and so we can say even consciousness it resolves. Like in a deep sleep state where I am resolved, so much introduction I give you about myself and all the notions and my physical body and senses and mind, and where it resolves everything during deep sleep state. So that is the consciousness. Same way, the creation also resolves into consciousness. So anyway, so like entire dream world, including dream body, are included in the waker. Same way, entire physical world and this physical body, waker, etc. also has a basis right now in the consciousness. So consciousness or I is a supporter, and the entire world, including this body, is they are supported. So anyway, Mayeva sakalam jatam, Mai sarvam pratishthitam, Mai sarvam layam yati, etc. etc. Anyway, so whatever happens in this world, can't affect me, basically, because I am sustained. I am sustainer. They all are supported by me. What is supported cannot definitely touch the supporter. What is supported by the clay? What cannot do anything to clay? That's basically this supporter relationship. Don't think this like the hand is a supporter and pen is supported, and therefore Swamiji, this is how then pen can affect. Let me open the pen and let me see. Don't think that way. Don't think. Supporter-supported relationship means there are two independent things here. Even though we utilize this word, but the world is not independent of the consciousness, we have seen. And in that case, well, definitely it is mithya. And therefore, mithya thing cannot affect a true, I mean, the satyam, basically. So, this is how we have to understand. Shankaracharya says, Tadvidvan Jivan Muktaha, in this verse number 45, he says that Tadvidvan Jivan Muktaha is free while living with this knowledge from the standpoint of Vedanta. And the primary benefit is Deha Man Abhimana Tyagas. This basically primary benefit is Abhimana. Abhimana is identification with this body and identification with the mind, identification with the senses. Not actually identification, I am telling you, but identifying is also, that is also needs an explanation. Identifying means two things become one. That's called identification. But there are no two things to begin with. So there is a question of identification. If physical body is one thing, independently standing, and the consciousness is another thing, and at some point of time, because some prarabdha, some papa, and then consciousness and this physical body merged into one, and then this consciousness started telling, I am physical body. Nothing of that sort. Right? Nothing of that sort. Basically, it is like exactly like a clay and our pot get identified with each other. Means what? Nothing of that sort. Basically, clay itself is in this form of a pot. Our pot is non-separate from the clay. And then in our understanding, clay is the truth. And in our understanding, suppose pot is a truth. And clay is, we don't consider that way as a truth of the thing. In that case, definitely we say that both the things are identified. But there are no two things to begin with. So that is how we say always under the spell of ignorance, basically this kind of an identification. So there are basically one thing is satyam, other is mithya. But instead you take, mithya as a satyam. And satyam you don't consider at all. That is what is happening. Even so, I am Brahman, etc. I am consciousness. People are not ready to believe. Body is satyam. Yeah, that they agree. Body is satyam. Body is consciousness. Yeah, that is okay. That's fine. But I am independent of this body and I am satyam. Physical body is mithya. No. That is not. Therefore, this is called identification. I mean, tadatmya, adhyasa, not tadatmya. Tadatmya means identification. Adhyasa means superimposition. So basically consciousness is an independent entity. Physical body derives an existence also from the consciousness. And the way pot derives an existence from the clay. And then adhyasa means basically you superimpose due to ignorance. If you have ignorance of the Atma, definitely you take physical body as the self. Physical body as the self, and that consciousness is taken as just physical body is taken as the consciousness or the self, Atma is taken as the physical body. This is we call as a tadatmya. This is what we call it a tadatmya, adhyasa basically. So there is no really identification means what? Actually there are independently two things and get united because of some reason. Get merged into one. And so instead of two, now you are seeing one. Not that kind of a thing. So even though we give an example of a iron ball and fire, etc., but we have to understand in a proper perspective. So, Swamiji, there is a third entity now, fireball. And so fireball means definitely two things have united together, identified with each other, and has made one entity called fireball. Here we should not take it that way. So basically consciousness is the reality. That is the truth. Other things are just mithya derived that, they appear. Due to Maya or ignorance, they appear all the names and forms which are non-separate from the consciousness. So that Dehemana Abhimana Tyaga. Abhimana is this identification. The first primary benefit is this. I won't claim body or mind or senses as Atma. Then second benefit is improvement of the quality of mind. That is what we have to talk now. And because in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan describes wise person, and all the benefits of a wise person in terms of mind, which we have not discussed. And so basically it says dukkheshu anudvigna manaha sukheshu vigata spruha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthitadihi muni ruchyate. This sthita prajna has dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. Well, he doesn't get agitated in a very unfavorable situation. Sukheshu vigata spruha. Well, he does not get elation in a very favorable situation. Nothing happens to them. Oh, Swamiji, that is really good. Well, and therefore, I don't want to get, I don't want to get agitated, become pain. I don't want to undergo any kind of a suffering in a situation of very unfavorable situations. How to, that I consider that is moksha. Yeah, that is moksha. Then, but you are not talking. You are talking Atma, Anatma, Atma, Anatma. Mind is mithya and body is mithya, but you are not talking that benefit. So now we will have to talk, and that for that you have to be prepared to do something else. Even after gaining jnana, you are required. If you want a benefit in terms of a very serene mind and very very unaffected by any situation and all that, and people want that kind of thing only. Always people equate freedom, moksha in terms of very ideal mind, which will not be affected by anything. And and that agitation should not be even, and if mind is not agitated, the physical body also will not will not have any agitation. People want that benefit. That is, they consider that is moksha. We say mind is mithya, whatever it is. Like physical body is mithya, if you say, then the physical body has several problems. Physical body daily gets headache. And physical body has knee pain also, and back pain also, and stomach ache also every third day. Everything is there. And lots of fat is there, 10, 15, 30 kgs more weight also is there. Everything is there. Still it is mithya. Same way mind also has certain problems. So what? Mithya is mithya. No. But we want to enjoy those benefits, in which is not affected in any situation, does not get elated in a favorable situation, no elation, no suppression, depression, all this, no anxiety, no stress. We want that benefit. Vitaraga bhaya krodha, free from all attachment, raga bhaya, no fear. We want that. Okay. Then Vedanta says, well, then this knowledge, Atma Satyam, Jagat Mithya or Anatma Mithya, that is not enough. Well, it should be followed by a long practice of Nididhyasana, because mind is influenced by so many factors, including our Purva Vasanas also. And so worry, tension, all are habits basically in our mind. And so even so much in our mind, this kind of a tension or agitation or etc., stress, that it percolates into physical body also. So you walk fast, talk fast, and therefore it happening, right? So much, fast walking. People say, walk slowly. What is happening? What has happened? Tell us. If we can help you, I am ready for that. So anyway, basically, so physical body also experiences the stress and anxiety. If the mind has anxiety, physical body also has. That's how in yoga they always, of course they talk about making the mind free from the stress, etc. But at the same time, they try to bring, they try to make even the physical body free from the stress or anxiety. So they train the person basically for relaxing the body also, including relaxing the mind. So, well, this is habit. Having a worry and tension and all this. And so, in fact, many people fall sick if they don't have a tension. So, that is another thing. So, basically, what I am saying is, so all these are all habits that has gone into subconscious mind. So, well, with the Nididhyasanam, one has to make oneself free from those habits. That is called Vasanakshaya. This has been discussed in Vivek Chudamani. This Vasanakshaya and Manonashaya, these two words we have borrowed from Yoga Shastra actually. But we interpret in our own way. Their interpretation is entirely different. We don't go with them. So Vasanakshaya means what? What is Vasanakshaya, Swamiji, in our Vedanta? Well, it is nothing but this gradual dropping of this habitual, unhealthy thinking patterns. How can I do that? Well, Nididhyasana. That's the only way. We have only three things: Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasana. So we will all the time revel in this only. We have, and therefore Vasanakshaya means our habitual patterns or wrong thinking patterns, all our reactions. A reaction is a reaction. It doesn't take your permission. And so, well, it just comes out. Person becomes suddenly angry, suddenly. So, and without his consent, he gets jealous. Without his consent, greed arises. Without consent, everything. I mean. So, basically, it has percolated into all these things, habitual, unhealthy patterns, etc. It has gone into subconscious mind. And so, with a long nididhyasana, if you want to enjoy the benefit of moksha at the level of a mind, then definitely all this wrong thing, this basically this thinking patterns, unhealthy thinking patterns which has gone into subconscious minds have to go out. That is called Vasanakshaya. Gradually going. Kshaya means it is not immediately it will get destroyed. It takes time. And so gradual dropping of this with the help of Nididhyasana. Then, well, you will be able to enjoy the benefit of the moksha also at the level of mind. Basically, if mind is getting free from these habitual patterns, and then mind becomes automatically free from stress, anxiety, and anger, and jealousy, etc. And so you will enjoy the serene mind. So basically, if someone has that that doubt in the mind, how to gain benefit all these things at the level of mind, so then this is the thing. And what is manonasha? Well, for us, manonasha is when this habit, basically, as I told you, this unhealthy thinking pattern is so thoroughly wiped out that this mind is not capable of producing it again. That is called manonasha. Manonasha means a destroying mind. That is for Yoga Shastra. We don't want to destroy the mind. We require, I have already told you, we have discussed in Kenopanishad, in Shravanam you require mind, in Mananam you require mind, in Nididhyasanam you require mind. So there is no question of manonasha, destroying the mind. But destroying the bad habits, gradually dropping this bad habit, habitual patterns, unhealthy habitual patterns, slowly with the help of Nididhyasanam, to the extent that now mind basically is not capable of producing again. Well, then we say this is manonasha. And if mind improvement is suppose our goal, then well, this is important. What? This Nididhyasanam is very important. So Shankaracharya ji says, Purvopadi gunan tyajet. So habitual thinking pattern belonging to the upadi. Purva. Purva means a habitual thinking. Purva means which was before. Means all these are patterns, habitual patterns, unhealthy patterns which has been developed in so many janmas, in fact. Why in this life? So many janmas. Certain patterns are already there which are not healthy. So Purva, Shankaracharya uses the word Purva. And Upadi means mind. So Purva Upadi Guna. So basically all these habitual thinking patterns belonging to this mind. And well, they get destroyed through that, through Vasanakshaya and Manonasha. Then mind is sufficiently improved. Sufficiently improved. Keep my word in mind all the time. All the time. There is no ideal mind till today. No ideal mind. If you are improving with this long Nididhyasanam, you can improve your mind to an extent. Sufficiently improved mind. Not totally improved mind. That is impossible. Like ideal body is not there. What is ideal body? Physical body. What is ideal physical body? Who has this ideal physical body? Please tell me. Who has this? Swamiji, all Jnanis. Forget about it. Jnanis have 32 diseases. All the Jnanis have 32. Why? From where you have got 32? I am telling you. Knee pain is there and back pain is there and heart has a problem and kidney has a problem. Has several problems. Eye has a problem and that problem, this problem. Several problems. there is no physical body yet which is ideal. No physical body ideal. And therefore there is no subtle body which is ideal. You can sufficiently improve. You can sufficiently improve your physical body with the exercising and certain type of healthy diet, etc. Sufficiently improve. You should not say I have totally improved. It is impossible. And so I have that kind of a notion that if I study all this, well, my mind will become ideal, free from total likes and dislikes, and free from this and free from that. Forget about it. Just forget it. It is not going to happen. It is not going to. Why? Because basically, you cannot exhaust all the vasanas. How many janmas and how many impressions a person has? You just think. In this janma itself, how many impressions you have got. Imagine, you were a child 50 years ago or 40 years ago or whatever. At that time, your mind has a certain impression, and now you see how many impressions they have. And that's how they say the child's mind is a very clear mind. You can mold it in this way and that way. And a person who is a aged person or old person, well, definitely he himself wants, but he still cannot mold his mind now in a proper way, fashion. Because of this vasanas or the habits are so entrenched, it won't go. And then how many janmas we have taken? So you improve sufficiently. That's correct. So once I improve mind sufficiently, then what is to be done? Well, last step is now disidentify with the mind. I am not the mind. Then I should have done before itself. Ultimately, if I have to throw it, I should have done before. Then what is the difference between this, Swamiji? After a long nididhyasana, improve the mind, and now you tell throw that mind. Then basically, why should I improve? No, there is a little difference. Difference is there. If mind is healthy, easy to disidentify. How can you say? Well, when will you forget your body? When you are healthy or when you are unhealthy? Please tell me. When you forget your body, when you are healthy or when you are unhealthy? Healthy. Yeah, that's how it is. So if mind is healthy, sufficiently improved, easy to forget it, easy to disidentify it. And therefore, that's how they always say, definitely when shoe fits your feet, shoe is forgotten. That's how they always tell like this. So you feel shoe is there because it pinches you. So the unhealthy mind all the time pinches you. So you will not be able to disidentify with this mind. So when you are healthy, of course, you forget your body. It is so natural. Same way when mind becomes healthy, improved, well then you can easily disidentify. So that much advantage is there. Anyway, so and how does mind get improved? Vasanakshaya, as I told you. And so Purvopadi Gunans Tyajet Purva, all these our old habits, wrong thinking patterns of the Upadi means that mind. Tyajet means can be given up. How? Satchidananda Rupatvat. Well, my nature is Satchidananda, and well, because of this long Nididhyasanam, well, and I know that I am Satchidananda, and therefore easy to disidentify with the mind. Because mind is not Satchidananda, that's how. I am Satchidananda and mind is not Satchidananda, and therefore I am not mind. How? Then again you have to think that, like physical body, bring all these 5 points. Yeah, what are the 5 points? That is my exam for Kenopanishad. I have taken same way here also. I can take now. What are the 5 points? Yesterday I told you. See, the mind is made up of, mind is drishyam, easy to understand. Mind is definitely object of knowledge. Mind is made up of elements. Mind has certain attributes, definitely. It has a good, bad, all attributes. And then mind comes and goes, right? Mind gets resolved, mind then arises in the waking state, etc. And mind is temporary also. And mind is temporary and mind continuously change. All these 5 things are there. And so Atma is basically free from all this. Atma is free from attributes. Atma is not an object of knowledge. Atma is not a temporary thing. Atma is basically Sat Swarupa, existence, and Sadeva Satyam, and therefore Atma is Satyam. And Satyam means which cannot be negated at any any point of time, which exists in all the three periods of time. That is Atma, that is Satyam. And therefore, so thinking that way, now you can easily disidentify that I am a Satchidananda and mind is not a Satchidananda, and mind is not Ananda also. Mind is not definitely a limitless thing. Mind is a limited thing. Mind can be a source of despair also. All these things. And anyway, so you know, and therefore, basically, I can easily disidentify. Before that, make your mind healthy if you want. So improves, and through the Nididhyasana. And then they give you an example, Brahmara Kitavat. So because of this long disidentification, long Nididhyasanam, disidentification with the body and mind takes place, and I get abided into that knowledge that I am Satchidananda. So Brahmara Kitavat, just as you know that wasp, it brings a worm from outside and puts into the nest, and then it keeps on stinging that worm. So worm is all the time frightened and constantly thinking and seeing that wasp, and so it becomes wasp. So same way, so because of a constant thinking and seeing the wasp, that worm becomes a wasp. Same way, constantly thinking that I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, ultimately I get abided into Brahman. So as a worm, definitely I am helpless, but as a wasp I can fly over everywhere. So like that, basically I am like, when under the ignorance, I am like a worm, helpless. But when I definitely do this kind of a Nididhyasanam, ultimately I realize that I am Satchidananda, and then definitely I have freedom. I am free. And this is a belief actually. This is not true. That wasp brings a worm and then it stings, and then worm constantly thinks of wasp and seeing the wasp, and then worm gets converted into wasp. Now that is not true. Somebody told me that actually what is happening is, the worm is a food for a baby wasp, which is already there in the nest. And so this mother wasp actually bring the worm, and she puts it in the nest, and then it stings. That mother wasp actually stings the worm, so it gets immobilized, and then that kind of a worm becomes a food for that baby wasp. Baby wasp is already there, and that worm is eaten totally by that baby wasp. And then so they say worm has become wasp, but actually that baby wasp actually has eaten that worm, and now then when she she grows little, then it comes out. So they say, oh, worm has become a wasp actually. It's not correct. So anyway, based on this story, we can also conclude, as in English also they say, as you think, so you become. So that's how it is. But Swamiji, then, definitely I must be a jiva, but I constantly meditate, and therefore I become Brahman. No, nobody can become Brahman. You can become worm, or you can become a wasp, but you can never become Brahman. Yeah, that's for sure. One cannot become Brahman in any way, whatever you do. Either you stand in a sun, either you stand in a moon, or either you stand in water, or you stand above the earth also. Whatever you do, a limited being can never become limitless. It's illogical to think also. Limited being can become limited being. Limitless, it can never become. And therefore, if he is or she is limitless, a jiva is a limitless, think because of ignorance as a limited being, and then that ignorance gets destroyed, and he establishes his own nature. That is way we can say. So Brahma Dhyanat Brahma Bhavati, thinking that I am Brahman, one cannot become Brahman. He is already Brahman, but by Nididhyasanam etc., he removes the wrong notions one by one. Daily take one by one, not all the time. Swamiji, I want to think today itself I am Nityaha Muktaha. Take one. Take one. Actually, all are connected. To be and the beautiful thing is in this is, ultimately they all different things are nityaha, buddha, shuddha, mukta, asangaha. All this we say. Several things we say. Abhyayaha. Whatever we say, ultimately it talks about one Atma alone. And therefore, from wherever you go, you start thinking that, well, basically I am nitya, I am timeless. Then ultimately you are easily able to connect to that I am asangaha also. You are easily able to connect to that you are shuddha. So nothing to worry. And because they are all connected like Maggi noodles. If you take one noodle, all a bunch will also come along with. So all this can come. So think one thing only. Take today like I am Shuddha. How can I be free? How can I be pure? Think. In whatever way you think yourself as impure, that's a wrong notion. Remove that wrong notion with that help of this knowledge, what we have gained. So basically, constantly claiming my own nature, well, ultimately, that's my own nature, of course. And so Jivatma becomes Paramatma. It becomes, you can understand, that is in inverted commas. So this is Jivatma becomes Paramatma. So Jivatma is Paramatma alone under the ignorance who considers as a Jivatma. That Paramatma now claims, well, I am Paramatma. What a big deal. Okay, let's go to verse number 50. Tirtva moharnavam hatva रागद्वेषादि राक्षसान् योगी शांति समायुक्तः आत्मा रामो विराजते. So, the entire journey of this seeker is compared to the story of a Ramayana. So, every seeker is a Rama and got separated from the Sita. So, well, he was upset and worried, and he wanted to get back the Sita, which belonged to him. So, it is not easy. So, then first he has to cross the ocean, and well, still Sitaji is not available. Then, because many Rakshasas are there, including Ravana, they are all there, and then Rama killed all of them, and he got back the Sita. So every one of also us is like a Rama. We also lost Shanti, that is called Sita. And so just as a Sita not only belongs to Rama, actually, from our standpoint, Sita is non-separate from the Rama. Parvati is non-separate from the Ishvara. Same way, Shakti is non-separate from Shiva. So basically, I have already told you, Ishvara alone is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karan. And so from a standpoint of Upadana Karan, we call it a Shakti, and from the standpoint of an efficient cause, we call a Shiva. So they are non-separate because one Ishvara alone is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana. And so anyway, so just this Sita also basically not only belong to Rama, but it's inseparable from Rama as per our tradition. And well, here in our case, so Sita Shanti is basically is as though it is away from me. So people also say just as Rama told that, well, I lost Sita, same way we also say I am missing Shanti, Swamiji. Everything is there, but I am missing Sita, Shanti. So for that, what is to be done? Swami, please tell us. We want our Sita back. We want our Shanti back. Anyway, we want a Shanti. So for that we have to cross this ocean. Moha Arnavaha. Arnava means say ocean, and Moha Arnava means ocean of delusion. So what is the delusion? Well, delusion is that Shanti comes from the external world. Shanti comes from the money, Shanti comes from the position, Shanti comes from the possession, Shanti comes from the relationship. And so, well, that kind of a moha, that kind of a delusion we have to cross that. How we will cross that? So, well, Shastra gives a means to cross this ocean, and that is Karma Yoga and Upasana, ultimately which will make you free from Ragadveshas towards this external world, and now you will not look upon the same world as a source of peace, happiness or security. Well, that much is done. So you have crossed the ocean now. and entered into Lanka now. That, but then after entering into Lanka also, well, definitely so many Rakshasas, including Ravana, is sitting. And where are those Rakshasas? All our notions are each Rakshasa. All wrong notions pertaining to the self. All are these Rakshasas. And main Rakshasa is that Ravana, that Ajnanam. And so, well, basically, we have to kill all of them. Ultimately, Ravana also is to be killed. Then we get back our Shanti, Sita. That is very beautifully said. You must be knowing this. Sadashiva Brahmendra Saraswati's Puja Swamiji used to sing also this bhajanam. You know, Shanti Videha Suta Sahachari, Dahara Ayodhya Nagar Vihari, Moha Maharnava Tarakakari, Ragadvesha Mukasuramari, Khelati Mama Rudaye, Rama Khelati Mama Rudaye. Mama Rudaye, in my heart, well, where this Rama is Khelati, sports, revels. Atma is reveling here. So, Shanti Videha Suta Sahachari. Videha Suta means Sitaji. And Suta means basically a daughter of Videha. So, that's how Sitaji's name is Vaidehi, one of the name of Sitaji. Anyway, so Shanti Videha Suta. Shanti is a Videha Suta, is a Sita, a Sahachari. Well, who all the time, who is non-separate from this Rama. Sahachari means Sahacharati, iti Sahachari. So all the time it is with him. Dahara Ayodhya Nagara Vihari. And that Dahara is a, actually this Dahara is a thumb space in the heart. It's called Dahara. And in the Chandogya Upanishad, there is a Dahara Upasana. Dahara Upasana, who will meditate upon this a thumb space in the heart. But in that thumb space is the abode of Parmeshwara. And therefore, well, so that Dahara itself is looked upon as a Parmeshwara. Dahara Kasha itself is looked upon as a Parmeshwara, and there is a Dahara Upasana described in the chapter 8 of the Chandogya Upanishad, in the initial portion of itself. And then same Dahara Kasha has been told as a Sachidananda, because ultimately Paramatma is Sachidananda. Anyway, so that's a later portion. Then, initially that's a Dahara Upasana, Dahara Vidya they call. And then same Dahara Kasha is looked upon as a Sachidananda, and then knowledge has been given by the Prajapati to the Indra. And that this Dahara Kasha is basically is a Sachidananda Atma. That's your real nature, etc. etc. Anyway, Moha Maharnava Tarakakari, and well, Maharnava, very big ocean. And so Moha Maharnava, so this Moha is a big ocean. One is Tarakakari, one, because of this Parmeshwara I am able to cross it. Ragadvesha Mukasuramari. And so Ragadvesha Mukasuramari. So that's all demons. Ragadvesha Mukasuramari. So killing them, destroying them. So Karma Yoga and Upasana will lead you to this, to cross the ocean of this delusion that world is a source of peace, world is a source of security, world is a source of happiness. That is, that you are looking upon the world as all this source of all these three, basically because of Ragadvesha. So well, then they are gone due to Karma Yoga and Upasana. And so you have already crossed ocean. And now the only job before you gain back the Sita, Shanti, is to kill all these Rakshasas. So this is we can describe this Moha in other words also. All the time our orientation is to change up the external setup for gaining happiness, gaining peace and gaining security. All the time we feel that, well, I should bring some change in setup, in relationship, in the setup where I am basically, including my body, of course. And therefore, if I bring some change, then definitely I will definitely gain peace. I will gain happiness. I will gain security. That is called moha. That is a delusion. Nothing, no ideal situation is there which can give you happiness all the time. No ideal situation is there which can give you security all the time. No ideal situation is there which can bring a peace all the time. That's how people do a lot of things, In a house itself, they try to change so many things. In relationship, they also do so many, they bring a lot of changes. They push some person and they bring near some person and what all the things they do. But ultimately, this thing remain away, basically, because it is the Rama is here, who is the source. Because Sita means the Shanti or a security or a happiness. She is all the time associated with Rama. She is non-separate from the Rama. That is Rama's nature, in fact. And therefore, externally, if you bring any kind of a change, is not going to improve. But the person feels that way. That's called moha. That's called delusion. Moha means you think totally opposite. Muh dhatu has that meaning. Vichitya. Vaichitya. Vaichitya means you think opposite. The source is here and you feel outside it's a source. Happiness, the source is Atma basically. You think no. The particular object, situation, etc. setup is a source of happiness. That's a wrong thinking. Totally opposite thinking. Anyway, so this Ragadvesh, this Shankaracharya says Ragadveshadi Rakshasan basically Hatva. So many Rakshasas, Ahankara, Mamakara and so many. Once Ahankara, Mamakara comes, somehow if you claim that I am this physical body, then all the objects which are conducive to the physical body, which are favorable to the physical body, or which can bring comfort to the physical body, towards all those objects you will have automatically liking, naturally. And the objects which are uncomfortable to this physical body, and unfavorable, then you will have a dvesha. Because you say, I am this body. And therefore, Ragadvesha is going to born from Ahankara and from Mamakara also. When you say, this is mine, then definitely if something you do to this, I would not like it. Even animals develop to the extent, really. Animals also, to the extent they develop. All these monkeys, etc., in some countries, people, they bring the baby monkeys and they make their family member, all this. Every day they give food and this and that, and they move around all the time. That baby monkey, if his master is there and somebody just, does like this, like that, then baby monkey immediately jumps to that person and tries to bite that. So they also develop a sense of a mamakara also towards naturally. But anyway, what I'm saying is, so Ragadveshas basically have a source in that Ahankara and Mamakara. So, finally, some of the Ragadveshas, this Karma Yoga, etc., and Upasana, etc., Karma Yoga basically, through that you remove it. But then, ultimately, the source is, our Jnanam only. By that you tell them as, you make them as a mithya at all. That belongs to mind, it does not belong to me. All Ragadveshas, they belong to the mind, they don't belong to me. Anyway, and Ahankara, Mamakara, and so many other notions, all are Rakshasas. Mainly, Kingpin is a Ajnanam, basically. In Ramayana, they say Rama kept on cutting the heads of Ravana. That's what happened. And they again appeared. And then he goes to Agatsya, and then Agatsya gave him Aditya Hridayam, etc. And then, basically with the help of that, Rama killed Ravana, that's how they say. So means all heads means all Ahankara. Head means Ahankara. And all are getting killed. But they again appear. Because the source of Ahankaras or all the wrong notions is ultimately the Ajnana. So that has to be killed. And then, when the Rama definitely, released a Brahmastra, and it was hit to the Ravana's body, not to the head, and then Ravana fell. So that is how they say. So basically, Ajnanam has to go. That is the root. And so then Ravana gets killed. Ahankara, Mamakara, everything gets killed. Then the heads won't appear again. All the wrong notions will keep on appearing till the Ajnanam is there. So if self-ignorance goes away, definitely all this also goes away. And that Brahmastra means Aham Brahmasmi. That is the Brahmastra. So ultimately that removes it. And so, and whole Ramayana, that, story, etc., very beautifully, philosophically explained, interpreted in Adhyatma Ramayana. And so Valmiki Ramayana has so many verses. Adhyatma Ramayana has a 4,000 verses. In that Adhyatma Ramayana, that Adhyatma meaning, philosophical meaning of the entire Ramayana has been given there. So, Ragadveshadi Rakshasan Hatva, destroying this, ultimately Ahankara, Mamakara and Ajnanam, Yogi, means this Gnani, this wise person, Shanti Samayukta, well, he got back the Shanti, the Sita, he reunited with the Shanti. Shanti was his own nature. Atma is silence. Atma is silence. Since I am able to hear all the noise, all the words, then Atma must have no voice. Because of consciousness, you are able to hear. If Atma has its own voice, you are not able to hear other voices or other words. So Atma is silence. Even you cannot, your nature is silence. Even if you want some kind of a agitation in mind, that's a different thing. But by nature, well, definitely you are silence. You are peace all the time. Anyway, so this person gets reunited with the Shanti. Atma Ramaha. Atma Rama. We are Atma Ramaha. Meaning of Atma Rama is one who revels in himself. Aramaha means one who revels totally. Asamantat ramate iti aramaha. And so one who revels totally in the self without depending upon external world, that's called Atma Rama. Bhagavan has used these words but in a different way. Yastu Atmarati revasyat Atma truptasya manavaha Atmani eva santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Bhagavan has said Atmarati, revels in Atma all the time. And Atmani eva santushta. One can revel with oneself when one knows that one is limitless and one is source of everything. One runs away from oneself if one is a limited entity. If one is a limited, you will not accept it because that will bring uneasiness for me. That's not your nature. And that is how one can revel with oneself. If one knows oneself as a limitless, that's the only thing. And one can run away from oneself, and that is what people are doing. That is called samsari. One who runs away from oneself because he cannot stand the limitations. Of course, born of ignorance, but he can't stand it. That's not his nature. His nature is limitless. And therefore, he runs away from that. But this person all the time revels in himself. But then what about, somebody asked me, Swamiji, and so limitless and fullness and happiness, but we want some external joy, because we are not what joy we get from Fafda, etc. we won't get from any other thing, and therefore basically we want that joy. Well, you should not. We are not saying that you should not have any external joy. External joy comes, that's a luxury for you. Sometime, suppose you go to some place and you know that you will get good comfort, etc. and you will be given a room which will be comfortable, etc. But sometime, to your utter surprise, you get such a beautiful room, well lighted and all that, and so many amenities are there which you have never thought of. So you feel then more than your expectation, right? And therefore that is called luxury. So this is a luxury. Basically you are a source of happiness, but if as per your prarabdha, it is going to come. Don't worry. When will I get happy? So don't worry, it is going to come. So many objects, if you just think about so many objects in your life which has given you happiness have come without your desiring. Think. You have gone to somebody's place in the evening after the class, suppose, and you thought that, well, he or she will offer dinner, etc. and well, we'll have a dinner there, etc. But to your utter surprise, that dinner was like a mahathal. You got so much, which is a very, very, very utter surprise to you. You could not expect from that person that such a delight you will have, but you may get it. So this is how it is. So objects of happiness and objects of unhappiness will come in your life unwarranted and without your desire. You don't want objects of unhappiness, but they come. Objects of happiness you all the time want it, but they don't come. But some other objects comes which you have not even thought of. So they come. As per the prarabdha, they are going to come. So enjoy them, but as a luxury. This is what we say. Anyway. So, they give an example of an UPS. So, like that UPS, if power is there, you utilize that power supply. If power is gone, that UPS is all the time there as a standby. So, this is how, whatever objects are there, so enjoy them, no problem. But if they are not there, power is gone, like that the objects are gone, then, you are the source of happiness. You are a UPS. Don't worry about it. Virajate, virajate. Some people will like this example. I'm sure. UPS. Virajate. He shines, stands as a greatest person. Unique. In Pujya Swamiji's language, I am unique. There is nothing like me in the creation. Virajate. He stands out. So when things are going well, Ajnani person becomes shattered. But the wise person is unshaken. Naturally, he virajate. He shines like a greater person, like a rock of Gibraltar. He stands unshaken. Verse 51. Bahya nitya sukha saktim hitva atma sukha nirvritah gatasthadeepavat swasthah svantareva prakashate. This explanation of this Atma Ramaha, which was in the previous verse. That word Atma Ramaha has been explained here further. So Shankaracharya says two types of happiness are there: Atma Sukham and Vishaya Sukham. Vishaya Sukham, which comes from the external world. Vedanta says Vedanta wants. So, in your mind that, if you feel that there are two sources of Sukham, one is Atma, as Swami says, and one is all these objects, sense pleasures, that is also a source of Sukham. Then Vedanta wants that don't rely on this Vishaya Sukham. Relying on Vishaya Sukham or the sense pleasure is a very risky proposal. Because of two reasons. They are unpredictable, one, and uncontrollable. Unpredictable means when they will come, we don't know. Which punya will fructify and give me happiness, we don't know. Like cricket match, nobody will know who will win. Nobody will know. Same way like this, unpredictable and uncontrollable also. Suppose they have come because of punya, and you are really having a good you are having a good days, and you wish that should continue, but they go away. So that's not under your control. So Vishaya Sukham means unpredictability, uncontrollability. You cannot control, you cannot predict. And so, and you have seen also that my efforts to influence this setup by which I want to derive this Sukham, Vishaya Sukham, is basically one of the innumerable factors. That's how sometimes I want a setup to change, but it doesn't get changed. So you are one of the factors to change the setup, to bring happiness, etc., peace or security, whatever. So basically, because there are innumerable factors to change the setup, and so our effort is unsustainable basically. So Vedanta says enjoy Vishaya Sukham as long as it is ethical, but don't lean upon them totally. So may you have an Atma Sukham all the time. May you realize that you are the source of happiness basically. There cannot be two sources of happiness. There cannot be. Source of existence, source of consciousness, and source of happiness or fullness is Atma. There is no other. Source of existence, Atma also and something else also. No. Source of consciousness, Atma also and something also. No. Source of happiness or fullness, Atma also and something else. No. Source cannot be two. That's our Lakshana of Atma. Lakshana of Atma is what? Satchidananda. Means, there is no other thing in the world which is Sat, which is Chit, which is Ananda. That we call Lakshana. We'll see that sometime. Lakshanam and characteristic, this kind of a characteristic and attributes has a difference. Guna and Lakshana are different things. Guna is available somewhere else. Like this is let's say a red color, or let's say this is a pink color. This is a pink color, right? This pink color, well, I cannot say that is a characteristic of only clip. I cannot say whatever is pink is clip. I cannot say. You will find a pink rose also, right? And so pink color is available somewhere else also. And the pink color source is somewhere else also. And so we cannot say that way. So this is called attribute, guna, which is available in other sources also. But lakshana means, well, definitely cannot be available other than its source. So, well, definitely. So, let Vishaya Sukham be, let it be there, but it should not become an object of dependence for you. So, here it says, Bahya Anitya Sukha Asaktim Hitva. Jnani refers to be obsessed with external happiness. He refuses to be obsessed with this external happiness. So, because of this reason only, and he knows himself as a source of happiness. So that total emotional investment, well, upon this external world, well, it is not intelligent, that he knows very well. And here we are, of course, talking about happiness, and in previous verse we just talked about peace. So don't think, so different things are there. You can bring, there you can take, even while we are talking about the Shanti, etc., you can take there also security and happiness. And here we are talking about happiness, but you can bring other two things, security and peace also. So here it says, Bahya Anitya Sukha Asaktim Hitva. Anitya. Anitya means uncontrollable, as I told you, unpredictable. And Bahya, external, setup based. Hitva, Hitva means giving up. And Asaktim is leaning upon them. Well, you give up that, you don't lean upon them, all these Vishayas. And Atma Sukha Nirvrita, this person who has gained this knowledge, he is fulfilled. Nirvrita means satisfied. Satisfied with what? Atma Sukha, with his own status. Atma Sukha means one's own nature. He is satisfied with his own nature. Swastha, and therefore he is healthy. He is psychologically healthy. Swastha means a healthy. Swasmin tishtati iti swastha. One who stands or one who abides in oneself. So then he is the one who abides in himself, and therefore in his own nature, and therefore he is swastha. He abides in his true nature, and so he is healthy. Healthy in terms of this, and he is happy. Swantareva prakashate, he shines within himself. So well, he does not look outside for this happiness, security, or peace. He is not an extrovert person. Swanta is an indeclinable word. Swanta means he sees inside. Swanta eva prakashate, he illumines in himself. Actually, it is like, they give an example also. Shankaracharya gave an example. Gatastha deepavat. So like a lamp which is kept inside the pot, and so this light does not go out, but definitely it shines within. Same way, Jnani's mind all the time revel with himself. So that is what has been told here, and further we'll see on Monday. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.